Welcome to Real Pod. I'm pumped to have you. I actually went back and looked at the very first time I reached out to you. It was 2020.
Oh, wow.
And I just shot you a random DM. And I think I reached out, like I was just kind of really wanting to go all in content. And obviously I knew of you and what you'd built and kind of through friends of friends from SC. And you responded like right away. And you said, I love helping young hustlers. And I thought that was so cool.
And then we met up for coffee.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I can't even remember when that, and then you came to one of the goal nights, I think. Was it that year or was that before?
No. So that was after. So we got in touch and then you invited me to that, which by the way, I frequently think of.
It's great.
It was a great night.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Really.
You invited a bunch of people and you led a night on goal setting and kind of getting in the right headspace for the new year. Do you still do stuff like that?
Yeah. So this last year I did not. Well, I did it personally for myself, but not with a big group. I'm actually surprised that we got away with doing that if that was COVID year. I can't remember when it was
like January. COVID happened all in March.
Yeah, I know. But then did we do, so we must have done goals right then, right before.
I think it was a few weeks later.
Got it. So we met, you messaged me, we went for coffee. And at the time you were interested in going into content and I was trying to listen to you, what you were up to and what you wanted to do and your overall vision, was trying to come up with like a streamlined log line of what you were trying to accomplish, right? That's if I remember correctly.
I think so. I have the worst memory.
Okay, that's what I remember. And then I was doing the goal night because I was like, you know what? I think you would benefit from it because the whole point of the goal night is like, of course, we all have dreams and visions and stuff like that, but it's really hard to articulate it to yourself or to others unless you kind of write it down and speak it out. And I'm just a huge believer of taking the time once a year or a couple times a year to really think about, if you had a dream, like what was the perfect dream of where you could end up in a year from now? You know, is that building out your studio? Is that, interviewing X amount of people? Is it, whatever that is, writing that down and just kind of be constantly reminded about it, and then trying to figure out little steps to get closer and closer towards those goals. But it's kind of like this weird, having goals and having like a vision board and stuff like that. A lot of people think weird of it or like foo-foo or stuff like that, but it's a huge thing in my life, and I like to do it for other young entrepreneurs, just anybody that want to kind of get involved in that. And that's how we met.
I love that. How did you first get so into the goal setting and the thinking about this?
My dad. Just kind of growing up, my dad has always taught us kids to have a vision. He always talks about having a vision, what his dreams are, what his goals are, and then just kind of like taking steps back. And he's always just kind of said, like, why would you not have a GPS for your life? Like, why would you not think about where you want to go and then how do you get there? And so that's kind of always stuck in my mind of really trying to think about what I want to do with my life, where I want to go, and then what are the steps necessary to kind of get closer towards that. And I also truly believe in it. I really think that there's an impact of having goals and having dreams and having a vision and speaking it out and
believing in yourself. I feel like I've seen this now come true with so many of my friends and people I know, that when you really do step into what you want to be doing or what you want to pursue, the universe does start opening doors.
Yeah.
Like subconsciously, if you believe, in 5 years I'm going to be here, or I am good at this, everything around you starts to be affected by like your belief.
Yeah, for sure. They have that, the punch buggy theory, It's like you never think about the last time you saw a punch buggy,
I honestly
you
can't.
Don't. But then you play the game and you start saying the punch buggy, and then all of a sudden in a day you see multiple ones. When you hit someone with a punch buggy, you find you owe me this.
That's
and
true.
It's like that theory of when it's on your mind and you start to, for a goal or something, you start to think about it, you start to speak it out loud. It plays in other areas of your universe, to your subconscious, to your confidence, to your competence, to your, there's so many different things that it does. And Tony Robbins speaks a lot about that and what it does to you psychologically. And I believe in it.
So with your dad kind of instilling those values in you, and I think our parents, hopefully if we have parents who are building us up to be great, I think about my parents, and I always say my mom was like, if you want something, you got to make it happen.
Right.
And my dad was like, and you can do anything you want to do. So I had both the like, okay, believe in yourself and put the work in.
Yeah.
Obviously, your dad being so successful, did you ever feel like, I don't know, like pressure? It seems like you have a confidence that you've been born with, but how does that net out when the parent is so successful?
Yeah, that's probably like the number one question I get from people of like, are you so worried about living in your dad's shadow, or like how does that weigh on you, and like do you ever think you'll be more successful than him? To me, like one of the things that I've learned probably the most, and probably from my mom more than my dad, is just what is success to you, and really making sure you have a clear understanding of what you value in life. Nothing against my dad, but his values and what his definition of success was is very career driven. Very much wanting to be the biggest movie star in the world, very much wanting to be the biggest bodybuilder in the world, very much wanting to be the biggest, politician, always taking those kind of next career steps. Whereas for me, family, faith, relationships, friends, my fiance, those types of things. Of course, I want to make money. Of course, I want to make a career for myself. Of course, I want to be a huge movie star and I want to have multiple successful brands and stuff like that. But that's on par with other areas that I define as success to me. So I think just taking a step back, for a lot of people, having a clear understanding of what success means to you. And I really learned that a lot from my mom, and just having really kind of defined areas of that. And I bring that up because I'm not worried so much about how successful my dad is or was, and same with my mom. I just really care about carving kind of my own path and wanting to feel successful to me. And I'm never gonna out succeed my dad in his terms, but in my terms, I will.
And that's so true. It's like, how do we measure it, right? Like success could be, I have really amazing relationships. No one's going to get an award for that, And I'm sure you have too, talked to some really successful people who have every accolade you could think of, but it's not happiness to them.
Exactly. And that's and a lot of people they always hear that and they're like, yeah, sure. I don't really believe that. That person's a billionaire. Of course they're happy and stuff like that. But one of the things that I've been fortunate enough to see is I've seen it firsthand. My dad has a lot of successful, friends, and I grew up with people that have come around the house. You wouldn't believe how many people that are ultra successful and wealthy and have the biggest careers and everything of that nature are longing for relationships, friendships or whatever. Significant other, kids, relationship with the kids that they have, So yeah, I just think that the definition of success and understanding what you value in life is so important.
And did you have any times growing up where you maybe wavered from that and lost a best friend and then learned that lesson?
Yes, I wavered from it for sure. I didn't get to where I am today without, And during my early 20s or teen, everything is like, so much of our generation is you want overnight success. You want to have 10 million followers tomorrow. You want to have $10 million tomorrow. You want to have, your leading role in a movie tomorrow. You want to everyone wants success like that. And it doesn't work like that. I mean, majority of the time, 99% of the time. But of course, I had times in my life where I totally valued the wrong things, whether it was from partying, whether it was from being single, whether it was from social media, to whether it was money, whatever it was. And so I think, as you get older, you learn more about yourself, you learn more about what matters to you. And specifically kind of at the tail end of college, when I met Abby, so I've been with her now this will be 10 years coming up.
Oh my gosh.
Which is crazy.
Congrats.
Thank you. And I think I just finding someone else that you have just corresponding kind of values of what she really cared about and what I really cared about, and going on that kind of journey together. And I mean, that's really what kind of helped me get realigned of what I wanted to do, and the fact that she's such a workhorse and she has so many dreams and aspirations and goals, and The fact that she cares so much about family, and so do I, and friendships and health and so many other things that kind of re-leveled me in a way. But before that, yeah, of course, I was lost per se or whatever, you know.
Yeah, that's really special that you found that at that time, and
Yeah,
it's been
it
able
was
to really help shape
huge.
everything.
Yeah.
I feel similarly. Like, I find myself getting caught up in, I don't know, the numbers, or even literally today, if I'm gonna call myself out, and this is coming out in a little bit, but I was looking at my follower count and it's getting close to like 500K.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to send an email to my team and be like, our goal is going to be, let's hit 500K before. And I was like, no, you're not, because that means nothing. Like, it doesn't mean anything. Not that the people who support me in my community mean nothing, but that's not the kind of goal I want to be setting. Like, I would rather focus on creating something to serve the 470 whatever that I have than trying to view this mark because what? Like, so that people look at the account and they see, like, so I go to it because I think, especially from the athletic background, it's like stats, numbers. And when you first start in this business, you have to be cognizant of it. I think it's a luxury to get to a place where you can focus less on it and focus more on the creative side. But you know, those thoughts come in where you get back to it.
Of course they do. They came into my head all the time during my early 20s. And it was like, it's such an interesting thing because my ultimate goal is to be in the film space and in the movie space. And I've teetered back and forth. You know, I grew up with my dad's kind of thought process of, you want to be a recluse. You don't want anyone to know anything about you. You know, that's how you get successful in film, is so that they can believe you in any certain different type of role. Don't know anything about you. Then like in my 20s, you know, then Instagram blew up and there was successful, you know, from YouTubers to Viners or whatever that were getting into the movie space. And then that kind of was squashed and people were like, oh, post whatever, you know, you got to be turning out content every day. You got to be posting Instagrams. Oh, this thing does better than this thing. And you should be shirtless. That's going to get more likes and whatever. And, you know, you do it, you do these things and you're like, it's kind of a dopamine hit or an addiction of like, oh, this gets more likes or this gets more comments or this gets more, you know, blah, 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 blah. And it was COVID that happened where I really took a moment to try to think about, and my acting teacher in my class said that this was like, she said, you know, one other time, when else are you going to get a time when you're on the sidelines? Because that's the beauty of COVID, was that we were all on the sidelines. We didn't get to, the industry was shut down. And when you're on the sidelines, you get to look kind of at the field and see it from a different perspective. And she told me, she was like, this is a really good time for you to think about, where do you want your career to go? If you were to look at the playing field and you were to look at different people's careers that you emulate, that you look up to, that you would want, whose are they and what are they doing? And it just made me kind of rethink everything. I was like, all the people that I look up to, all the people's careers that I want to be, or the careers that I want to have, they're not posting any of this shit. They're not posting these things for likes or whatever. They're establishing their career first, and you know, they're more of the recluse, like my dad said. Like Leonardo DiCaprio is not posting about his coffee run or his, you know, whatever it is, and his shirtless things or this and that. So I just went through and I took away the likes, which was, I love that Instagram did that. So I can't see anybody else's likes.
Still
I can't
now.
see my, cool. And I deleted like probably 80% of my posts. All of it now is just professional, you know, things. And I just don't care about it. I care how I'm perceived more than I did before, but in a different way. I don't do anything based off of likes or comments or followers or things of that. It's always towards where I want to go with my career. And then the other thing I love now is that you can post to close friends. So that I post whatever I want. And then there's like 30, 40 people or something like that can just see that. But I don't know where we went off on a tangent there.
I love this though. I was just thinking, I would have no idea that you even did this because, right? Like, I mean, I've seen the change in your content. I think when we first met, it was more motivational and you were into the speaking. And I think that obviously it's taken a change. And I can think of things I used to post. I used to kind of call out people more like, oh, this person said this about diet culture and this person's doing this and that's wrong. And I'm like, why am I like, I don't want to I don't want to talk about anyone else in a negative way. Like I can just share my experience, but I don't need to call out a celebrity who said this or that. Like that's actually not what I want to do. But it was getting views and likes in 2020.
Right.
And now I'm like, why did I do that? Like everyone's on their, So I think that's awesome. I think everyone could benefit from really slowing down and saying, why am I doing the things I'm doing?
Sure.
Is it for me? Is it for other people? Is it to feed my ego?
Yeah.
Everyone can do that check-in with themselves frequently.
And I think it's a responsible thing to grow. We're always learning about ourselves and what we like and what we want to do. And the fact that you did those comparison stuff, I guess in 2020 or whatever, doesn't make you a bad person. You're just learning about, what you used to do and how you want to get better as a brand and as an individual and stuff like that. So, I think in 2020, 2021, stuff like that, I was doing way more of the, inspirational, motivational. I was trying to really help kind of young entrepreneurs and young actors and stuff like that. And then I was just like, I need to go and make a career for myself first. I really want to go and focus on just me and where I want to go. And then, go back and help. And doesn't mean I'm not open to helping other people and things like that. Of course I want to, but I want to help myself get to where I want to go and what to be who I want to be.
When it comes to acting and you talk about your coach, and this stuff is so fascinating to me. I love the art of acting. I love talking to actors. It just seems so fun. It's something, growth mindset I could get better at in the future, but it doesn't come naturally to me. And and you're so talented at it. I mean, the projects you've been in, the things you've done, really. So did you feel like that was always a skill you had and you wanted to keep nurturing it? Were you obviously inspired by the things your dad had done? But it seems like that's kind of now you've funneled down and you're focusing on acting.
So I think for sure my dad and his career had an impact on me. I think that it has an impact on majority of humans, what their parents do and kind of the environment they grow up in. My favorite activity growing up was my dad pulling me out of school early and taking me in his car, and we would go to his set at Universal Studios, and I would watch him go in the chair as dad and come out with a bald blue cap and be Mr. Freeze, or during breaks he would take me on the golf cart around, and we would go to the Jaws ride, and then the ET ride, and all these different things. It was like a dream for a kid. That's when they filmed everything in LA. So I definitely was introduced to the film industry at an early age and at a different way than majority of people. And then I started to do plays when I was in lower school and then in middle school. And then I was always kind of doing home videos where I would pretend I was a news anchor, or we were doing these different kind of just home skits and stuff like that. And you just kind of get into that, developing a character. And then when I was in high school, I was like, I want to be a businessman. I want to totally switch, and I want to go and do business and learn about business. And then I kind of teeter back to, do I want to do film? And so it's kind of been this up-down relationship with film and with acting. And then when I went to USC, I got a degree in business and then cinematic arts. So I did business and film and then theater as well. So I just didn't really know where it was going to go. And then when college kind of stopped, I went full into acting more, taking classes, going into theater programs outside of school, and trying to learn as much as I could and hone kind of my craft. And so I guess the question was, did I always have a skill? No, definitely not. Because when I look back at things that I've done, whatever, years ago, or even just like in class, like I did a play this Thursday, and just like the level of like confidence that I have now compared to 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 10 years ago, it's just night and day. And I think that'll continue to grow. But just being in class and getting to kind of flex different muscles and become different characters over time, I think that the more you're doing something and working at it, the more comfortable you get, and the more you're learning and the more you're growing. And so I guess I think that I had a natural talent to a degree, but it's definitely been the amount of work I've put towards it and continue to.
What are some of the strategies you use to really execute a role or character? Obviously, people hear about method acting. Mm-hmm. I mean, you said your dad would like take you to a ride and then he'd go back on set. I mean, could you do that?
He's like, it's so funny because we had a a show come out at the same time, and we were both in Toronto, and someone asked me, I just did a miniseries called The Staircase, and
So good.
it was on HBO. Thank you. And my dad was doing another project, and a reporter asked us both. He was like, Patrick, how did you prepare? It was such a dramatic role. You're playing a real person. What did you have to do for a real person? And I was like, oh, I mean, first off, this is a very wild show. I mean, it's a very depressing case about, someone finding their mother dead at the bottom of the staircase, and it's very dramatic, and playing a real person, it's your responsibility to try to, really study that individual day in and day out, kind of how they talk, how they walk, the physicality, the emotional side of them. Try to understand the relationships, the who, what, where, when, and why is what we call it in film. So what's their relationship to each individual, to the setting that they're at, what's the relationship now to the house where they found the mother dead every time they come in, now after they found the mother versus before, the relationship to the other individuals, all these different things. And I'm talking about it and kind of going in depth about how I prepared for it. And I did therapy as the character. I did dream sequences.
Like on your own.
Yeah, so the director set it up. It was great, Antonio Campos, and he set up a dream sequence where you would have a therapist like this, and you would do dream scenarios, and you would talk about your dreams as if you're in the character.
So it's like improv.
It's improv, but you're setting up certain scenarios that are happening throughout the script, and then you're reliving it. So again, I was the character that found my dad at the bottom of the staircase. And then you would go and you dream, try to relive that scenario and talk about the different details, so that on the day when you're going to film that or something, everything has a meaning to you. And there's very specific details about everything. And I just bring this up because I'm going through. And then they went to my dad and they're like, so what do you do? And he's like, I just fucking show up and act. He's just like total opposite of just like, it's kind of more of the old school movie star of like, he sees himself as less maybe as an actor, more of a movie star, whereas I'm trying to go the other way.
Yeah.
And hopefully turn into a movie star, but going towards the acting. Everyone has their own process.
Yeah. And I could be totally wrong. This is me making a general assumption, but I do think that the projects nowadays have gotten like the lines are less of just like a gimme. Like there's so much storytelling in the shots and the scenes than I think when we used to see movies. I feel like it was more of that like, oh my God, and like a bomb. It's like, so I think the game has changed.
It
like
totally
everything
has changed. Yeah. I mean, it used to be way more, and nothing against, when my dad was going into the industry, it was more of like kind of these action hero, the one-liners, the slapstick, this thing. And today people are really interested in the character stories and the character dramas and stuff like that. So, when you think about me, just filming White Lotus, that's a total character piece. I mean, you're essentially the first whatever episodes, there's nothing like that catastrophic, or I mean, except for the beginning part, right? But the other parts are not like these huge monumental action scenes or explosions or massive, moments in the show. It's about characters. It's about all these different types of characters coming to one area for the same thing, for vacations, whether it's a husband and wife with a family, or someone that just went through a divorce, or a guy with his new girlfriend, or the people working at the hotel. They're all character driven stories, and they want, the audiences to really invest in those characters, and then you learn more and more about them and them raveling apart. But it's totally different than it used to be.
I think that's what makes White Lotus so good, is it's all the unspoken. Even in like season 1, just that family. Yeah. I'm like, why is this my family? Like literally the way the mom and then there's the son and they're making him sleep in the dresser. Like, and I'm literally like, it's everything it was so real. Yeah. It was so real. Yeah. So congratulations. Like I am obsessed with that show. When I saw that you were cast for season 3, I was like, that is so sick. I was
freaking out.
Yeah. Tell me about the day you found out. I have a video
of it when I found out. Because I first auditioned for it, and it was like one of those auditions where I'm just like, how is this going to happen? Like there's going to be like, you audition for Superman, and you're like, everybody's going out. There's just like no way. And, you get the White Lotus, and you're like ecstatic to go out for it, but you're like, fuck, every single person that's between 25 to 35 male, is going out for this role. And so you kind of it's almost like a blessing of like you kind of care less about it, but you also really care about it. You want it to be like amazing, but you're just like the chances are so slim. And I was flying back I was working in Milan. I got the audition on the plane, and I was like, I'm going to learn this audition on this plane. I'm not going to get off this plane until I have it down perfect. And I was like, usually I wait a couple days to send in an audition. This one, I was like, I'm going to send it in first. I want to be the first person to send it in. I sent it in the second I got back, I filmed it. And within probably a couple hours, I got a call that was like, this tape is exactly what we're looking for. We want to ping you for this. And I was like, what? And they're like, we'll find it. We'll come back with more details. And I was like, okay, like what? And I didn't hear anything for whatever, another month or two, something like that. And then they were like, hey, it's moving along. We want to do a chemistry read. You know, you, Mike White, the producers, the casting director, all these different things. It's the day after Christmas, the morning after Christmas. And I was like, okay. And they're like, here are the extra scenes. And I was like, fuck, like now I'm not going to enjoy the holidays. Like my anxiety was going crazy during Christmas. I was like freaking out, and I didn't want to tell my family or anybody or any of my friends. No, because like every time we would watch the show, I watched it because it started during COVID, and I watched it, me, my fiance, and my mom were living together during COVID, and it was like our favorite show. And then when the second season came out, we watched as a whole family on Sundays. And they would always, my mom and my sisters were like, why weren't you that role? Why didn't you audition for that? You should be in this show. You should be in this show. So I didn't want to tell them like I was going up for it. And then, oh my God, I'm having a chemistry read and there's a couple other actors that are in it, you know, and then not get it. It just was like too much of a letdown. Yeah. So I was like, I'm just going to wait. So I did it. I did the chemistry read the day after Christmas. And then I'm with my family and I get the message from Mike saying, you got the role. And I started crying, and it was like, I just was like, I can't fucking believe this. It's like insane. And they were like, you cannot tell a soul. You cannot tell anybody. And I was like, God, I was like, okay, fine. I'm not going to tell anyone. You have to sign these NDAs, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I got to tell Abby. Like, that's the only person I can tell. So I told Abby, she was freaking out. And then I was like, Abby, you cannot tell anybody. And she was like, okay. So then I went and, sorry, this long story.
No, I'm living for it.
So then I
Give
went,
us every detail.
Then we're on our now it's Christmas vacation, and I'm with my family, and we're in Mexico, and we're at the dinner table, and Abby flew in to meet us. I was there a day early, and we got to before we went to dinner, to lunch, it was lunch. She was like, have you told anybody? I was like, no, we can't tell anybody. And she was like, okay, done time. So then we get to lunch, and my mom's like looking at Abby and I, and she's like, what's going on? And then my sister looks at me and she's like, you're pregnant. You guys are pregnant. And Abby's like, no. She's like, tell us you're pregnant. And we were like, no. My mom's like, something is going on. You guys are being so weird. And I was like, no, it's not. And they just kept hounding us. And then I was like, okay, you know what? Fine. I was like, I'm going to Thailand for 7 months. I booked it, blah, blah, blah. My mom just screams. She starts sobbing. My sister's there. She starts crying. Then I start crying. And then Abby's cracking up. And my brother-in-law's there crying. Like everyone's just crying at the table. And it was like just like a rush of emotions.
Oh my gosh.
It was great. It was like one of the best days of my life.
Wow. That is insane. I can't believe you're not supposed to tell anyone.
I know. They were so serious about it.
Wow. Oh my gosh. And so then when you did tell them, did you have to then tell everyone, but you can't tell anyone?
Yes, I said that. I was like, you cannot tell anybody. And they were like, okay, we promise. And then like 2 weeks later, it came out.
Do you think it's kind of unspoken though, that they're like, sign the NDA and don't tell anyone, but like, of course you can tell your immediate family who will hold a secret?
I was keeping true to it. I mean, I was really not saying anything, and then I had to tell them. But I don't know. I mean, some people probably tell some people. I mean, I trust my family, but I didn't even tell my friends. I didn't tell my friends till the day the press release came out.
Because everyone has someone that they think they can trust to not tell. So if you're like, I won't tell anyone, but I'll tell Abby. And I'm just like, well, I will only tell my best friend Jill, and then Jill tells and then everyone knows. But oh my gosh, and Mike White.
I know.
Obsessed with him.
He's so funny.
I'm a Survivor nerd, so I did in fact see him on it.
I didn't watch Survivor. I didn't watch it. And every time when I got to set, he was like, you're not my friend. You're not my real friend. You didn't watch Survivor. And I was like, okay, fine, I'm gonna watch your season. So I watched the season.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it was really funny. He's hilarious. He's a genius.
Wow.
He's like a serious genius.
Speaking of COVID, he wrote that show during COVID.
Yeah.
They said we have low budget. We need a show. It's got to take place in one. I mean, so wild that came from it. What was the experience like filming it?
It was really cool because for an actor, it's like a dream come true to work with a director that's also an actor. So Mike White is, he's a trained actor and he's a writer, but then he's now turned director. So it's a blessing because they understand, they've been in your shoes, so they understand kind of what you're going through, and he's very great at, and it's also a blessing that he wrote every episode. He's kind of created everything about White Lotus. He show runs it. He's the director. He's the writer. He's producer. So he knows what he wants, which is very helpful. And so working with him was like such a blessing. I was really nervous at first, and then you just realize that he's such a kind of a goofball, fun guy, and he's just really wanting to make the set environment really fun. And but it's really great to work with someone that's an actor, because when he comes up and gives you notes, it's articulate, and he's phrasing it in ways for you to understand. And he's also really funny because he kind of comes up and he kind of scratches his head and he recreates the whole scene in his mind, and you can watch him. He kind of talks to himself and he says this and that, and he, oh yeah, I want you to do this. I want you to try this. It's like it's just wild to watch him kind of go through his note process. But the set was amazing. I mean, we were in Thailand for 7 months. So I got engaged, and then like 3 weeks later, I got the job, and I was like, we're not getting married this year.
Oh no.
I'll see you in 7 months. But she came and visited twice, which was great.
Good.
I mean, Thailand, it was 24 hours away. It was on an island off of Bangkok. So it was really, really an awesome experience. I mean, that's one of the best things about being kind of an actor is that, I'm born and raised in LA, but then we get to go and film in, Atlanta or Toronto or, New Orleans or, in this case, Thailand for 6-7 months. When else am I going to be able to do that in my life, of going to Thailand for 7 months working? And it's like kind of work, kind of vacation, because you're filming on a beach. I mean, there would be scenes that I'm just laying out on the beach like this, and I would FaceTime Abby, and she's like, I cannot believe that this is work. You're literally laying out at the Four Seasons in Thailand on a beach. And I was like, yep, this is the job everybody wants.
Wow.
But it was really fun. I mean, we had a really cool cast, and it's a really unique scenario because they rent out the hotel, and it's like the cast and crew, and that's it at the hotel. So it's kind of like, whether it's if I filmed here in LA or you film in Atlanta, you go back to your apartment that you're renting, and then you everything is still moving around you as a normal day to day. But there it was like everything was, you're on an island.
What can you tell us about your character?
I can't say much about the character, except for that it's going to be a crazy season.
Okay.
It's going to be wild. And
I can't wait.
He's, you'll just have to wait and see. There's a lot of stuff that happens. And I would say this season it's bigger than the past ones. It's 8 episodes, and yeah.
Wow. Amazing. I mean, congratulations.
Thank you.
Sounds like, seriously, it is a once in a lifetime experience, and
it is
so exciting.
It really is. I'm so excited.
I'm actually curious. So you said Abby visited twice.
Yep.
I do think, if I'm stereotyping, the young actor in Hollywood, like they're typically not in a steady, stable, good communication relationship.
Right.
Like that's at least not what we've seen. Obviously, it exists. What are some of the big things that have allowed you guys, both ambitious? Abby's a model. She kills it. I actually knew of her and her work before I even think I realized you guys were dating, because she has such an incredible career she's built for herself.
Yeah.
How do you guys make that work?
So like I said, we've been together for 9 years now. She was 18, I was 21. She moved to LA from Alabama right after high school to pursue her dreams of being a supermodel. At first, when I met her because she was on a date with one of my friends.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And you were like on a double date with someone else?
I went and met them with my other friend. Me and my friend Johnny went and met her and him at the Nice Guy in West Hollywood at a bar. And I was like, oh my God, this girl's beautiful. And I'd never met her. And then I was like, you know what? I gotta swooped.
Sorry, buddy.
Sorry.
Yeah, are you guys still
And
friends?
Not really.
Oh, no.
No, yeah, it's fine.
But hey,
we're friends.
you went
we're
on to marry her.
Yeah,
Come on. It'd be
yes.
one thing if you went on to date her. That's your soulmate.
Yes.
Come on.
Exactly. So at first we just kind of, and we kind of hit it off that night. I got her number. I made my friend Johnny get her number for me because I was nervous of doing it and so I got her number and she blew me off the first multiple dates that I tried to go out on with her.
Why did she say she did that?
She thought I was kind of like a douche.
The stereotype
I don't know.
I just said.
Exactly. She was like, he's not, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, whatever. And so I invited her out for dinner a couple times. No. And then I was going to church one night and I was like, hey, I don't know if you're religious or, if you have faith or whatever, but, I'm going to church if you want to come. And she was like, yeah, I'll come. And she was like, yeah, I grew up, religious but since I moved to LA, I've not been to church. And, I've been looking for kind of a group and a community of faith and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, well, let's go. And so that was our first date. And that was, like I said, 9 years ago. And then we kind of just hit it off from there. And I would say one of the things that I was most attracted to her besides, her appearance and, physically was that her drive, just her drive to go out and build a career and her vision and dreams of, having a very clear idea of where she wanted to go in her life and how hard she was willing to work to get there. And when I met her, she had done one photo shoot for a small company here in LA. And then just over the course of her career, now she works with everyone we got to just do the Tommy Hilfiger campaign together. But I mean, she does Chanel to Celine to Armani to, Saint Laurent, all the top brands. And she's just people are just astonished of how hard she works. I mean, she goes to Europe, once to twice a week she'll come and she'll go for the day, work, then go to New York for the day. Then she'll go to, she's the highest flying, whatever miler person account on every airline. She just goes just nonstop working. But sorry, to go back to your question was I think that, again, it's what people value in their life. For me, I always really wanted to be a young kind of dad and to find a steady relationship and to find someone that, had the same values as me and that I could grow with in my career and in my life. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things that we have is that our relationship and our careers have grown together at the same time. Mm-hmm. And we build each other up and life's better, with her. And so that's just what I value and what I care about. And other people have their own things and, people have fun being single and people have fun being in relationships, but it was definitely tough to go away for 7 months. And, every time I'm waking up, she's going to sleep, 15-hour time difference and stuff like that. But she came out and visited twice, which was really great. And, we make it work.
What a special, special story. I love that. And I can't wait for the wedding when it does happen to see the pictures and how great it is.
I know. She's from Alabama. So the fact that she's, that we've been dating for 9 years and have not gotten married, her family and people in Alabama are like, what the heck is wrong with you?
Yeah, but you did meet so young.
Yeah, well, that's not that young.
That's
there
true.
It's 18 you're married. So
okay, last question.
Yeah.
You kind of brought it up in that story. Does it bother you when people stereotype you as oh, he's gonna suck, he's gonna be a tool, he's gonna be that? Because even it's gotta happen.
It does happen.
And you're so different from it.
I would say that now it does not bother me, but there was a time that it did bother me a lot. And I think one of the things, this kind of goes back to when we started this conversation about just kind of how much do you value other people's opinions of you? How much, value are you putting on that? And when I was in my early 20s and stuff like that, I cared so much about people seeing that I was carving my own path, that I wasn't just, some rich trust fund kid that didn't work at all. That was his, living in my dad's shadows, that a stereotypical person in LA's trust fund kid or something like that. And I just realized it was kind of this moment that I was like, I'm never, ever going to convince everybody out there that I work hard, that I have my own values in life, that I want to make my own name for myself, that I don't do drugs, that I'm not a screw up, that I'm not a, bad, mean person, that I'm not, all these different things. You're just never going to convince, and everyone's going to always have their opinion of you no matter what. And it's such a bottomless hole to try to spend so much time and energy of trying to convince so many other people that you're this way. And so I think kind of when I came to that realization and just really was like, I just got to focus on like what makes me happy in life and really what I want to do and where I want to go, and stop worrying about what other people are going to think. Because even with where I'm at today, even if I go and I have White Lotus and it's successful and people are like, wow, he's a really good actor, or I can't believe that was Patrick Schwarzenegger. What? He's such a good guy. That's such blah, blah. There'll be other people that are like, oh, he only got the role because his dad's in the industry. There'll be other people that'll say, well, I wonder what his dad paid him to get that job. What am I going to do? Convince all those people that that's not true? It's just such a waste of my energy.
I really needed to hear that. I feel like that's something I'm working on and can be better on. Is I love that you cannot convince everyone. You're right. There are always going to be people who think whatever they think. Also, if we get factual, Mike White's not putting anyone in his show that he does not think is going to make it the best show possible.
Right.
Anyone
totally
who knows
agree.
cinema knows that.
I agree. And there's definitely, of course, it would be ignorant for me not to recognize that there are blessings and things that I have from being, my dad being in the industry of that has helped. I've gotten a meeting with a manager, whereas a lot of people struggle to get a meeting with a manager or an agent, or you do get in a room maybe for an audition that someone else is having a hard time from my class, that can't get that. So there's definitely things, there's merit to those conversations, but there's just no way of me convincing everyone that it's like everything is handed to me. It's so funny because my brother-in-law is Chris Pratt, who's in the Avengers. And I genuinely, I'm like, I had a person come up to me and say, your brother's in the Avengers. Why are you not in the Avengers? And I was like, dude, trust me. If it worked like that, I would be in the Avengers. I would gladly take that role. He's like, you should be Captain America. Why aren't you Captain America? Can't your brother just call and just say for you to be? I was like, no, it doesn't work like that. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
But people are always kind of, they always will think what they want. So
yeah, I think it's very true. Of course, there's privilege and there's blessings that can open the door. But when someone's in the room, you have to earn your place in the room and you have to be successful in that room. But you
got to use your cards.
Yeah.
Just as I've been really blessed with the life I've given, there's also there's responsibilities. I think about that all the time of why am I on this earth? What does God want me to do? There's other things that you have to do of giving back. I have, a lot of privilege, and what can I do with kind of my life to help impact other people and to help, just to help.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This was such an amazing conversation. I love chatting with you.
I know.
This has been a long time
it felt
coming.
Like you went like that.
I know. So thank you so much. Congratulations. I seriously mean it. I am so stoked for you. I cannot wait to watch.
Well, when we
White
do
Lotus.
a viewing party or something, I'll invite you.
Oh my God. I would be geeking out. I'm such a fan. Thank you. Appreciate it and wishing you all the best.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you.